Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and there's another quick look at the situation in the Donetsk front, actually just east of Velika Novosilka sector. Whoops, wrong color. This Velika Novosilka, this is the Zaporizhia line, and this area here, this is actually the Donetsk front, and the famous Vuhledar is actually here. So you probably can now see where the geography is. So the Ukrainian forces has launched a major offensive operation and assault in the area around Zolota, Neva, and Preshestivka. I should use a different color. And around this area here, they have previously gathered some forces in this area, and they have launched a major attack towards Novomayoske and Novodonetsk. So this comes after we have a certain fighting on the 3rd of September already previously, and this was towards Shevchenko. So this seems to be like an expansion of the operation around this region here, and the Ukrainian forces have launched tanks towards this entire defense line, with in which the Russians are actually mainly entrenched along the river. This is the river. This area here is actually more like a gray zone kind of thing. So the Ukrainian forces launch an attack, and they are taking advantage of the poor weather around this region here, as the Russian Air Force is unable to deploy. So let me go to Google Earth. Probably we'll be able to see the situation better. So you can see this is a Zolota Neva Preshestivka as they launch an attack towards Novodonetsk, and this is actually Novomayoske. And previously they also attacked Shevchenko the day before. So this is what happened. They launched this massive attack with the Russian forces holding the line along the river, and so what happened is that there was bad weather. The Russian Air Force cannot take off to provide air support, and perhaps this was the reason for the Ukrainians to actually launch this massive attack. And the Russians actually used artillery instead to bombard the Ukrainian forces, and it forced the Ukrainians to retreat. And then after that, they decided to concentrate their efforts on Novodonetsk. So from around Zolota Neva region, most likely, around this region, they launched another massive push with tanks. And again, they got destroyed, and then they got hit by artillery, and then they withdraw. Then again in the morning, so all this I think happens probably in the middle of the night. If you look at the information provided, it shows that they were fighting in the early morning. So all these things happen all the way in the middle of the night, and so by the time in 8 a.m. in the morning, the Ukrainian forces launch a morning attack against Novodonetsk again, just exclusively. This time around, they used their already well drilled infantry assault, supported by 2 tanks. So they say 1 tank. Okay, so then 2 tanks. So they launched with like 2 tanks, and however, the Russian forces defended this position with the support of, let me see, what was the defenders. I think the defenders are the Russian Marines. So the Marines are actually defending around this sector over here, and they fought off the Ukrainian forces, and the Ukrainian forces attack did not work out over in this massive assault. They tried 3 times from Zolota Neva and Preshestivka against Novodonetsk and Novomayoske. Did not work out. So kind of disappointing for the Ukrainians, and this seems to be a new strategy, from the Ukrainians, because we have already reports of fighting at Shevchenko. Now we have this fighting at Novomayoske and Novodonetsk. This might indicate that Ukrainians have find it too hard to break through over at the Urozhaine region. We still have fighting reported around this region. Mainly they are recon forces, and they got taken out by the Russian forces as they try to find where the Russian forces are. So, and the Russian forces also bombarded Makarivka. Perhaps there was a Ukrainian gathering of forces that attracted Russian artillery, which the Ukrainians could have used to launch an attack to gain that flank, the buffer zone around Staromayorske that I always talked about. So this Staromayorske, and unfortunately for the Ukrainians, the Russians have discovered them and gave them a massive hammering. So the region around here is pretty flat, largely. As you can see, there isn't really much of a landmark, to say the least. So this is a very, very flat ground and a perfect location, I think, for Air Force to support. But no Air Force was being mentioned in the report. And further in the east, we also have some shelling being reported at Vuhledar. So the Russians shelled this, and this is also reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry as airstrike. And we also have geolocation of Ukrainian forces at this position, confirming that the Russians have entirely withdrawn from this entire river, this Kalahash River, in their previous massive withdrawal into Polivka itself, giving up the northern shores, or the northern shores, correct, the shores of the river. So anyway, this is just a quick update of the Ukrainian attempt at this breakthrough over in this area here to revive the entire Velika Novosilka offensive. And this offensive, according to the Ukrainians, are called the offensive operation towards Bryansk, which is over here. Though the plan is actually head towards this direction, and so the idea was to break through down the forest, down this river, break through the heavy sector, maybe capture Verkivka, and try to head towards Bilmark, which is why you can see that the Russians actually built a huge defense zone, because they know this is a important, strategically important town. The Ukrainians also can capture this place. However, if you have captured this, you are going towards Mariupol. If you capture Bilmark, you are going towards Berdyansk. So depending on whether Ukrainians are able to break through, they will be able to head towards different direction. Both be it Mariupol or Berdyansk, both would do the job of the Ukrainians' plan to cut the land bridge. However, if you look at this result of this offensive, there's a lot of progress. A lot, so much that if I zoom out, you probably can't even see it. So unfortunately, that is the state of the situation, given the Ukrainian forces, because we do have the NATO League, the Pentagon League of this offensive brigades that was formed and trained by the Western armies, and we do know more or less the numbers of the units that they have in reserve, and it looks like there isn't a lot left, and some of them they have to keep in reserve for the future, because this offensive operations at the Velika Novosilka sector and the Orikhiv sector is drawing to a close. They are really running very low, and there is also rumors of massive mobilization coming for the Ukrainians, and there is also the Leopard 1s that is not yet refurbished. There is also Abrams tank that only a few have just entered Ukraine. So the Ukrainians will be preparing for their new offensive, and probably this is just another attempt to see whether they can break through, while the weather seems to be good for them to prevent the Russians from using their air force. Reminds me of the Battle of the Bulge, where the Russians, the Nazi Germans tried their Ardennes offensive, and kind of an example. Anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update.